I spent too much time with Wuthering Heights lately, and now I'm just like, people do be marrying their cousins. Well, hello. It turns out that my little year-long hiatus was perfectly in line with the Bridgerton production schedule. Who would have guessed? I just finished watching season 4 over the weekend, and I'm so excited to hear what everybody thinks. I know what I think. The TLDR is similar to last season, some high highs and some things that made me go, but I'm excited to put a couple of things out there and hear what everybody has to say.
By the way, this video assumes that you've already seen the entirety of season 4, so spoilers within, beware, beware. You have been warned.
I didn't rewatch season 3, and I've also never read the books, okay? But I did go back and rewatch my own video about season 3 to remind myself of what I was thinking about at the end of S3. What I did last time was I went character by character, which I think makes the most sense. So I'll start with our main couple, Sophie and Benedict. Big picture, I like how much time we spent with our lovers, and I felt like overall their relationship was really strong. But because of where Benedict was coming from, I had to kind of forget about everything else I knew about Benedict before this season to fully absorb or accept this season. I'll start with our girl Sophie. We love Sophie. Yerenha, wonderful actor, such good period drama face, not an iPhone in sight. Drop the skincare routine, girl, please. And I think like the character of Sophie is pretty fantastic. Sophie really was in a lot of ways the main character of this season. Really, Benedict didn't have that much to do that didn't have a relation to Sophie, so good on her. She carried it for sure. Obviously, you know, we're doing the Cinderella story. I love a Cinderella story for obvious personal reasons, but something that I appreciated in this version of it was the number of twists and turns incorporated into it. So we had the Cinderella start, the Cinderella inciting incident, but then a lot of other, for me, interesting things happened that made it not feel quite so by the book as your Hilary Duff Cinderella story. Also iconic. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about Miss Sophie in this version is how she's just a hard worker. She's just a good, nice, hardworking girl, and that is so beautiful to me. And it really did kind of open up this world of the upstairs, downstairs element in the show, which can be easy to forget about when we're living in this fantasy. We forget about who is making the fantasy possible. So that was something that I appreciated that just made the world of Bridgerton feel more full. And yeah, the character of Sophie, who is so like self-sacrificing and who has been told so many times how she is less than the people around her. All of the ways that she sacrifices and puts other people before her was just like impactful and very beautiful and meaningful. And then when she finally, spoiler alert, gets what she wants and still remains gracious, that's very Cinderella of her too. That's like an element of a Cinderella story that is, I think, under the surface of the fairy tale. And something that I appreciate in a modern adaptation is that it's not just that she meets the guy and that solves everything. I appreciate when people really do get into the psychology of this character who has been beaten down in all of these different ways and how they can show this person coming into their own and finding their own value as a person, in addition to ultimately being rescued from their horrible, abusive life. The core wound of feeling like her father didn't truly care for or provide for her, adding to that question of self-worth, was also very powerful and interesting. Another thing that I thought was quite well done was Sophie deciding to walk away late season because she knew that if they were together, it would cause a rift between him and his family. Our sweet, self-sacrificing girly, when she doesn't have a family that she feels comfortable with, but she doesn't want to take that away from him. I felt that. Also quite beautiful and well done. All of these different people coming together to help Sophie in episode 8, after she gets taken to jail. I cannot believe she has suffered so much. But all of the people that she's met and interacted with across her jobs across these different classes coming together to help her out was very lovely too. I love Community. That's really cute. Although I was kind of like, girl, you need to look at this will. You got to get eyes on this will. Do not trust Araminta. She is a snake. Sweet Sophie. She's just too pure for this world. She's also tough. I love that. What a good character. I think Erin is a wonderful actor, and her chemistry with Luke Thompson is off the charts. Their interviews are so cute, and I know we're not supposed to ship real people, but they're so cute together. Okay, so love Sophie, love her to bits. Our girl has suffered. They put her in jail. What? She deserves a soft and beautiful life from here on out. And I would say I don't really have any major notes on the Sophie arc, which was a lot of this season, except that I am excited to see what Erin does next. Yay, congratulations. Okay, Benedict, our boy, our male lead, love him to bits, but one of the things that I was saying at the end of season 3, he literally renewed his commitment to being for the streets, right? Tilly said, hey, I want to be serious. And he said, hey girl, you have opened up my world. Why would I want to close it again? So to start there this season, at a certain point, I kind of just had to suspend my disbelief about it, because I think if we treat this season as a totally separate thing and ignore everything else we know about Benedict, then I can buy it. And as I'm watching, I'm engaged, I'm locked in. But then if I think about it too hard and remember what was going on in seasons 2 and 3, I'm like, wait a minute, is this really earned? I think everything that happened was ultimately in character, but I just wish there had been more of a deciding factor for him to stop being for the streets. Remember, for example, at the end of season 1, Anthony says, it's time for me to lock in and find a wife. And that's how you know what he's doing in season 2. And of course, Benedict is not necessarily going to have that moment textually, but I think I could have used what we've gotten for Eloise this season, where we get to see him becoming disillusioned with being a confirmed bachelor over time, rather than, again, this sort of boom, it just happens. And I know apparently that's what happens in the book, so okay. And I also know that he has that conversation with Violet where she says, oh yes, I used to be a wild child, but then I fell in love and I wanted to settle. And that's not an especially satisfying way of framing that situation, especially for, again, this free-spirited character. But again, I talked about Colin's simp gene being activated. Maybe we just have to decide, okay, in Bridgerton, genetically, there is a gene. And when they discover, sorry, I'm thinking now, as I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, it's giving werewolves. Once they find the person, it's so over for them, for these dudes, because that is a little bit kind of the only explanation at this point. I just think the simplest way to continue talking about this season is just to say, okay, Benedict's simp gene was activated by the Lady in Silver, and now we got to move forward in that mindset. Also, I will say, Lady in Silver, not too much on my boy Benedict. That was a very big mask. I think we need to be a little bit kinder. The other masks were way smaller than that one. That one was really, really big. I also think we are all so used to Erin Ha's beautiful face that we're like, of course it's her. But guys, please. Although, yes, he could have gone off like skin color in general, height and build, but whatever, leave him alone. I also hear in the book he was looking for the Lady in Silver for 2 years, and only after that did he reunite with Sophie, and so he'd kind of given up on that already. I don't know how I feel about that. We had 2 years waiting for this season to come out, so maybe they didn't need to incorporate that into the show, eh? Benedict is such a confusing person to choose for the Cinderella plot, but what do I know? I'm not a doctor. He kind of goes directly from rake chaos goblin to romantic hero, and I think Luke Thompson plays it really well. He plays romantic hero really well. The romance was romancing, the love scenes were beautiful. I appreciated seeing Benedict really walking the talk in terms of, my brain is like saying, his alternative lifestyle. You know what I mean. He's always saying how he is not interested in society, and so when these moments come up for him to act in ways that do not have to do with society, he really does show up. And in fact, as I say it now, I don't know, it could have been interesting to see him struggle with it more, but honestly, that is very in character for him to be like, I literally don't care what anybody else says. This is what I want to do. That's maybe the most consistent thing about our boy B. I loved it when he got into that fight for Sophie, not even knowing her. He's just a stand-up guy. And he got in there and he's like, I'm going to protect these maids. Love that. Hazel's a cutie patootie too. Once he was in it, he was like, okay, this is my girl. I'm in love with her and I'm going to do what I need to do. The mistress thing, yeah, as we've heard in the interviews, he thought he ate that. But as soon as he figured out why she would not be interested, he turned it around and he was like, I bought a house. I know the house was already there. It was already his house, was already in the family, but you know what I mean. I'm going to take care of you. He got to kiss a couple more boys before his simp gene was activated. And Sophie is like, love you, bisexual icon, Benedict. I almost said Cumberbatch, Benedict Bridgerton. Again, I'm in it. I love it for them. As soon as the simp gene was activated, he was on the straight and narrow for this. He maybe didn't need to slut shame his mom, but I think that's what I think about Benedict. Again, I think Luke Thompson is a wonderful actor. I look forward to seeing what he does next. I would love to see him and Yaren in more stuff together because again, this press tour, it's killing me. Complimentary. They're so cutie patootie. I think that it might have been smart, and I might talk about this more later, if Benedict had a full season to come to the place of being open to a serious relationship. Especially because the last thing we saw him say in season 3 was, I'm for the streets. So confusing. And honestly, something that I think could have been clever is him seeing Francesca and John and Michaela. Maybe once John Sterling dies and he has a heart-to-heart with Francesca about what it meant to her to have that relationship, that could have been a really beautiful inciting incident for him to change and become a lover boy as he was meant to do genetically. But again, that would be a complete restructuring of the entire multiple season arc. So again, I understand why we're not there. Also, that would have meant Luke Thompson having to wait at least 2 more years to have his storyline. I have some questions about that too. I'm wondering about what are the contracts like for this? Surely people aren't signing 16-year contracts to be on this show. It seems like a good time, but that's a lot to ask someone to commit to. I'm impressed that Jonathan Bailey has shown up in every single season thus far for this, again, 8+ year experience. It's very impressive. But yeah, I just think it's a lot to expect from people. Oh, something else that I'll say about Benedict that I thought was interesting and not really paid off. I just listened to 2 Black Girls, 1 Rose talk about this too, the idea of being the spare. I do think they could have done more with this idea of being the spare. Like, it doesn't matter what I do because I can't inherit the family title anyway, whatever. Something I thought was interesting, they talked about Prince Harry's book Spare and his experience of literally being the playboy until he meets the right girl. So it can happen. I've not read Spare either, so I don't really know how it happened there. But I do think that could have been an interesting dynamic to bring in. But again, there's already a lot of plot when that character development would have happened. There just wasn't actually space in this season for it. So such is life. This is what we get. Simp gene, accept it. Move on. Benedict really does. He shows up. He's like, I'm going to beat up this guy. I'm going to get you a job. I'm going to set up the cottage for us. I will happily marry you and abandon my family about it. He's in it to win it once his simp gene has been activated. So yeah, congratulations to Benedict on stepping into your birthright as a simp. This is where you belong. We love you for it. And congratulations to Luke Thompson on being hot. And I wish you nothing but the best. Okay, now I'm going to go through all the other siblings in alphabetical order because that just feels the easiest for me to keep my thoughts organized. Okay, Anthony and Kate. Canthony, my darlings. That little baby could not be cuter. That is one of the cutest babies I have ever seen in my life. It's actually so scary how cute that baby was. So congratulations to them on that. So now Benedict is even further down the line of succession. And I guess he has like a little bit of angst about it, but it's not that serious. Also Anthony being like, if you go with her, I'll have to write you out of the will. Again, kind of turning up the heat on this situation. That was already really complicated. I love Jonathan Bailey. That's my man. America's sweetheart, people's sexiest man alive, Jonathan Bailey. Love to see him on my screen. Kind of wish he had been a little more understanding about things because he did a big scandal in his time as well. And he turned out okay, but it all turned out fine, right? He admitted he was wrong in the post-credits scene. Sidebar, who knew we were doing post-credits scenes in Bridgerton? I did not know until I watched a YouTube video and one of the comments said that there was a post-credits scene. How dare they hide this from me? Very rude. But I'm glad I got to look at those dressies. And you know, Kate continues to be the voice of reason. Love to see her. But again, I will not fault them if at any point they decide they don't want to be in a future season due to it being 2038 by the time this show ends. It's okay. They're allowed to do that, you know? So yeah, Canthony, love them. I love those beautiful hot people and their cute little baby. Congratulations to them on being hot and beautiful. Talked about B. B was the main thing. Okay. C, Colin and Pen. Colin and Pen, cute. Colin not doing a lot this season, just being cute, being supportive. Penelope dealing with the Whistledown fallout. I think this maybe took about as much time as it could have. I knew from the end of season 3, if everybody knows who Whistledown is, then how's any of this going to work? And so I maybe didn't need that much screen time to tell me why it's not working because I already knew that it wasn't going to work. But I do think that obviously, new Whistledown is very interesting and very exciting indeed. And I do think it was smart for Pen to extract herself from old school Whistledown. Also, what did the Queen get in the wager? Was I not paying attention the Benedict Bridgerton wager? What was the prize? What was I don't know. Was it bragging rights? What is it? I feel like that didn't quite land for me, but I support Penelope. I think she's a cutie patootie. Love Nicola Coughlan. Really, one of the many things that's delightful about Bridgerton is the casting. I just have such a deep fondness for the actors. When I look at them on my screen, I'm like, ah, those are my little friends. So again, it's a coup. The casting is a coup on this show. Everyone is truly delightful. But yeah, maybe I didn't need as much time spent on the, hey, did anybody realize that Whistledown is not going to work anymore if everybody knows who it is? I could have told you that at the end of season 3, but I guess we can talk about it. I'm glad I saw Penelope. Love her. Okay. D. Daphne and Simon are nowhere to be seen, so I'm not going to talk about them. Oh, God bless them. I'm sure they're doing great. We also have Eloise, who this season is not doing a terrible amount. I do kind of miss Detective Eloise, talking to poor people Eloise. I continue to love the character. I continue to love Claudia Jessie, the actor. She's so fierce. But yeah, they just didn't have a lot for Eloise to do this season other than hang out with sweet little Hyacinth and be her chaperone. But again, ultimately, I think that was kind of an interesting move because you can see how she's starting to become disillusioned by, bored by the idea of spinsterhood, or at least it's tough because I think being a committed spinster feels very true to the character, but obviously we have to make her fall in love with somebody on the show. So at least I'm pleased with how they started to plant the seeds for Eloise to be interested in romance, but I still think they've got some work to do to thread the needle as I mix my metaphors right now. They need to still be very careful about how they cultivate those flowers. Better metaphor. I think what I need for Eloise, because she's very similar to Benedict in this way, right? I think what I need for her is to feel excitement, engagement, an intellectual equal in her partner. And I think if someone can bring that, then I'm totally on board. But being a debutante is not interesting to her. Being a spinster and chaperoning her sister is also not interesting to her. So somebody needs to show up and offer her an amazing third option, right? Like the romance that she has needs to be an amazing third option for it to feel true to her and earned. As it is, Francesca and Michaela feel like they are on track to a really, really deep, heartfelt love story that is actually in line with their characters. I will be so disappointed if Eloise's love story isn't amazing because I love that character and I want her arc to feel really truthful and earned. I keep using that word, but that's how I feel. That's what I want. And that's what the creators of the show have signed up for by creating all of these characters that we care so much about. Then it does mean they've signed up to put in a lot of work, a lot of character development in order to make all of these stories really hit, you know? F Francesca. Oh my God, Francesca and John and Michaela. Sweeties all around. 100% sweeties, 100% cutie patooties. Something I thought was interesting is that it kind of felt like we hit a reset button on the Francesca-Michaela relationship, because I remember at the end of last season, she gets a little frisson as soon as she sees Michaela that she did not feel when she met John. And then in this season, they say, oh yeah, they barely talked to each other in Scotland and they weren't really getting along. And then when Michaela shows up, they're still not really getting along because Michaela's personality is so different from Francesca's. When she said they weren't getting along in Scotland, what I thought initially was like, oh, Francesca was avoiding Michaela because she was attracted to her. But that didn't really seem to be in the mix at all. And again, I think if we had not set it up last season, I would have completely bought this version of it where she feels a little bit jealous of the relationship that her husband has with his cousin, which I think I've spent too much time with Wuthering Heights lately, and now I'm just like, people do be marrying their cousins. Anyway, I think the storyline of jealousy to friendship is interesting, but it's confused by last season. So again, I guess a thread that I'm pointing out is, are we really linking the seasons together as tightly as we could have been on this show? Even though, again, it's all really fun. It's all really cute. Yeah, but so, God, John, Francesca and John, sweeties. Francesca hoping for her pinnacle. It's kind of tricky because I really liked the idea of Francesca having two true, beautiful love stories. And that's not to say that not having a pinnacle doesn't mean the feelings were not real or anything. But I hope you understand what I mean when I say that. I just think that like Francesca and John's relationship is really sweet and very beautiful. And that plot line in some ways felt like it was maybe diminishing the strength of their bond in a certain way. What do you think? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Michaela, very fun. I like the actress. I like her chemistry with Francesca. It's really fun to see them become friends. The incredibly on-the-nose metaphor of John being the ground and Michaela being the sky. I was like, okay, I see what we're doing here. I see it. I understand the vision. God, and Francesca's grief storyline was really beautiful as well. Just little Fran dealing with this horrible situation. Oh God, I also was really feeling a type of way about her pregnancy and then apparent loss of said pregnancy, and how the executor of the estate is in the room during the examination. I was sick. Just this poor woman. And again, note, Benedict stepping in and being like, she will not. Very gallant there. But yeah, I just, wow. Women's health, patriarchy, bodily autonomy. What are we doing? Just, what do you mean? What do you mean the lawyer is in the room as you are looking inside of me to see if there's a baby in there? That's crazy. This does make me think about, in this time period, this question of heirs and legitimacy, I think, is so far away from especially what American modern audiences are thinking about, that it does feel very foreign. Like, well, who's in the line of succession? And where's the male heir? And oh my God, for Sophie, she's illegitimate, and that means she will never, ever, ever be acknowledged. Having an illegitimate child will ruin everybody's life. All of these things that are, again, so far removed from how we live today. But I digress. Francesca's pregnancy loss was heartbreaking. And again, the added level of her value of a wife being called into question on top of the loss that she's already experienced of the person that she loved was really, painful. And then Michaela putting together the Scottish style funeral and everyone taking joy in their memories of John was really lovely as well. And again, I'll point out Benedict speaking at the funeral and having this moment where he has to step up and play this role that would typically be an Antony role, could have been, in a completely different world, a pretty meaningful, inciting incident for him to decide to take romance more seriously. Just saying. But yeah, the funeral was really sad. We may need to get into veils again because people were looking cute in their veils, and I think we should maybe talk about it some more. I am very excited for Francesca and Michaela. It feels, again, very truthful. I think when they do fall in love, it will feel very earned and meaningful. And again, that's the kind of multi-season character arcing that if we can kind of lean into that approach to writing the show, I think that's what's going to make the remaining seasons feel really satisfying. I'm putting Gregory and Hyacinth together again. I think they're really cute. We got a lot of screen time with Hyacinth, which was cute and fun. She just wants to be in society. She wants to be out. She wants to fall in love, go to parties. I get it, girl. I went to my cousin's Sweet 16 this winter and I was like, I see you, Hyacinth. I understand you. This is the vibe. Hyacinth's recital and my cousin's Sweet 16, it's the same. It's the same party. So cute. And yeah, there's not a ton to it, but I thought it was really cute when Sophie helped her sneak into the ball in her maid outfit. That was adorable. And kind of a nice reversal of Sophie sneaking into the ball at the beginning of the season. I liked hearing string quartet brat. That was fun. And it was nice to see Hyacinth and Eloise eventually over time bond as well. And yeah, I think Hyacinth is a cutie and we'll see how she fares. I have no idea what's going to happen to her. I haven't read her book. Same deal with Gregory, but I thought it was very cute that he was like immediately love struck with little Miss Rochelle, who was so cutie. She was like this big. She was so tiny. And yeah, little Gregory, she's divine. Okay. I hope the little cuties continue to be cute and they've probably got a minute before we get to them. So we'll see what the future seasons hold. Okay. So that's all the Bridgertons. No, it's not, because I got to talk about Violet, my sweet Violet. Violet and Marcus are also very delightful to me. I think they're so beautiful. I will say, sidebar, if they are interested in doing another Bridgerton spin-off, might I recommend a Violet and Dad Bridgerton spin-off? I'm very curious about that. They always talk about how incredible that love story is, and that could be a nice little treat for us to nibble on between full seasons of show. But as it is, it's fun to see this sort of more mature love story. It's fun to see Violet's situationship. I understand why she would want to put things on pause after Francesca losing John, but I was a little bit confused about Violet, like previous season Benedict reiterating her commitment to being for the streets. Just kidding, she's not for the streets, but just saying, oh, maybe I'm not really ready for anything serious. I just felt a little bit confused by it. Again, it's her life, she can do what she wants, but it did feel like kind of a letdown. I don't know, maybe if there'd been another suitor or some other sign that she wasn't totally satisfied. I don't know, it felt like a step backward for her character that wasn't completely understandable to me, if that makes sense. But again, I had a lot of fun with Violet and Marcus and their teas. And they were just really sweet. They were really cute. And yeah, Benedict did not need to slut shame her. Okay, that was a bit much for him. So calm down. She deserves to have fun. She deserves to have a good time too, and to experience joy again. So yeah, I'd be very curious to hear about the illustrious Dad Bridgerton in a future Queen Charlotte flavored spin-off season. I think that'd be really fun. And as I think about Queen Charlotte and how Lady Danbury and Violet's dad had that moment, I was thinking, oh wow, they are meant to be family in some way. And then I don't know if it's going to happen with Marcus after all. Sad. Speaking of Danbury, Lady Danbury wants to go to Africa. She's like, please, Queen Charlotte, please let me go. And Queen Charlotte is like, no. I hope you understand what I mean when I say that in some ways the Queen felt very silly this season. It was such a tricky combination because you understand why she doesn't want these things to change. She doesn't want her friends to leave her. She feels trapped and lonely. I get it, but there are just certain ways that it was played for comedy. It felt a little bit trivializing. And again, structurally, I get it for both Penelope and Danbury outside of the show. Perhaps these actors are like, I need to be able to do other jobs. So I can't, again, commit to this almost 20-year-long project. But I'm glad Lady Danbury was able to extract herself. I'm very pleased that Alice Mondrich has like a actually meaningful plot role to play. I was very happy to see the Mondriches have some plot that means something to this show. For Danbury to bring her in and incorporate her into the Queen's court and set her up as the next potential Danbury was very interesting. Alice Mondrich, again, what a beautiful actress. Oh my God, her Cleopatra look at the masquerade, untouched. Like, I don't even know what to say. 10 Richter scale mother quake whatever you want to call it. I don't know. If anybody knows what lipstick she wears most of the time, it's such a pretty color, and I feel like it might be a good color for me. So if you can find out, please let me know. But yes, it was very nice to see her playing like a really meaningful role in the goings on, because I have felt for a while that our sweet little Mondriches, literally beautiful people, so hot, so cute, but what are we talking about here? And I am excited about her as a Danbury analog successor going forward. I think that'll be really fun. And it also did seem like maybe there was a little something with their son and Hyacinth, maybe? If you've read the books, tell me if that makes sense, but also maybe don't, because I don't want spoilers. In real life, I am a book girly, but for Bridgerton, for whatever reason, I'm enjoying the show. I'm fully committed to watching the show as if it is a separate thing. Okay, so yeah, that was cute. Yeah, Danbury wants to go to Africa, sets it up, makes it happen. Love it for her. I love that actor. Yeah, I wish... we had a moment or two where the queen's story dropped in and we felt a little bit of gravity, but on the overall, you did kind of feel like, this frivolous person, the queen is this frivolous person who is completely inflexible and unwilling to let other people do what they need or move on. But then we actually think about what's going on with George. Oh my God. Queen Charlotte, it destroyed me. That show. I love this universe. I love these characters. So I just want the best for everybody, you know? Okay, what else? Oh, okay. So we got to talk about the Guns. Araminta Gun and Posy and Rosamund. What a trio. It shook me to my very core to discover Katie Leung from Harry Potter being a mom in Bridgerton. That was kind of hurtful for me personally, although I guess she could have teenage daughters and it wouldn't be totally outrageous, but as a New Yorker, it feels outrageous. Little Miss Araminta, wow. But yeah, Araminta, baddie. Love Katie Leung. Love her work on Arcane as Caitlin. Real ones know. And yeah, so it was really wonderful to see her on my big screen, acting her little face off, wearing her little veils, wearing her spider necklaces, wearing her incredible, very glam widow fits. Very fun. She brought a lot of layers and subtext to her performance, which I think is very important for a wicked stepmother character. I don't think you really feel for this stepmother character. She doesn't get a redemption arc, obviously, but you understand why she does what she does, even if it is totally evil and horrible. Again, I was like, Sophie, girl, you got to look at the document. Where's the document? Look at the document. She successfully tricked Sophie for so many years. It did seem very clear that she loved Sophie's father and very clear that she wanted the best for her children. I've heard some people talk about her as, is she a Black Widow? But it doesn't seem like she's a Black Widow. It seems like she really just is a woman trying to make her way. Okay, in the romance world, she's just a woman trying to make her way. In the ruining Sophie's life world, she's a real piece of work. I cannot believe she sent Sophie to jail. That was brutal. I refuse to hand it to her, but I will hand it to the actress. Katie, love her.
One thing I forgot to say is that I thought it was really interesting how Araminta was able to trick Sophie into continuing to do unpaid labor for her. Yikes. That's just an interesting element of the Cinderella story, where it's not just the stepmother treating Cinderella badly, but also getting in her head and making her question things about herself. Sophie definitely trusted Araminta and took her word, took on what Araminta told her about herself into her self-perception and value in a way that felt, again, a little bit more real and deep than I have seen in other Cinderella stories, which I think is nice. I also forgot to talk about Rosamund because she's fun, she's sassy, but not doing that much. I did think it was iconic when she said, I don't want to talk about Sophie anymore. Good on her. Slay on, Rosamund.
Posy, also a cutie patootie. I did think if we're gonna put anybody in potential Lady in Silver, I thought it was interesting that Benedict was looking at Rosamund so closely, because I think Posy has much more similar features to Yerenha, but whatever. What a sweetie, what a cutie. We love the kind stepsister. And yeah, the shoe clips thing was this kind gesture that goes sideways. Again, these are the sorts of like changes to the Cinderella story that I find fun and interesting and engaging. And it was just cute to see Posy end up with her little nice man and ultimately save the family reputation as it turned out. Obviously, Araminta, diabolical, to be clear, taking the stipend for caring for Sophie and stealing her dowry. Yikes, yikes. It was very exciting to see everybody step up, come together, and blackmail this woman. But that's how it works in Bridgerton land, isn't it? You gotta play dirty sometimes. You gotta get down in the mud and use what you know, the power of gossip. It's so funny on this show, they love to talk about the power of gossip, and there are times that the power of gossip thing feels very unserious, and then other times that, reputation really does matter. It does feel important. It's a funny little balance that we get sometimes. But yeah, Araminta, what a snake. But she was serving the entire time. It's true. I was glad to see her get shipped off at the end. And I do think that basically any other comeuppance for her might have felt a little too silly and cartoonish. So I think this was appropriate. And think about as well, season 3, Cressida, blackmail mode, trying to extort Penelope for all of that money. So blackmail is a tool that we can use in the world of Bridgerton to get some stuff done for sure. I was happy to see Cressida again, but I don't know that I'm fully convinced that they landed the plane for her. We spent so much time with her last season, both humanizing her and also experiencing her crimes. And it kind of feels like this ending of actually she just got married off screen and now she's back and she's still kind of an outsider, but kind of not. It didn't feel completely satisfying to me for that character. I'm glad that this character seems to have had a lot of growth. It just kind of bums me out that it all happened off screen when I was feeling really invested in her by the end of season 3. Again, I'm like, is she going to fall in love with Eloise? How? I don't know. But that was something that I really thought was going to be on the table last season. And I'm like, could it happen again? I wonder. Especially as she's like, Eloise's love is really great. I wonder. The Maid Wars, the Featheringtons. It was nice to spend some time with Varley. It was generally nice to spend some time with other servants on the show. And I did think it was very interesting to kind of tie together the Mondrich's experience of social mobility with Sophie.
It's interesting how these class barriers on the one hand are very, very strict and seemingly immovable, but then the Mondriches are an example of how these things can change. It's an important reminder that ultimately all of these class things are made up. And so it makes sense that Alice would want to take on Sophie's case to help someone else who is having this class mobility experience. And also Alice is using it as an opportunity to solidify her position as well. It's actually pretty interesting, And
all the other servants, having them attend the wedding in the post-credits sequence. So fun, so cute. And I am very curious about how that will continue to play out. Bridgerton is this fantasy world where we do have, again, this sort of racial utopia. It seems like we are on track to have some kind of queer utopia coming in. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but as I said last season, I was like, what is going to happen with these larger social issues that are problems? And I think season 4 has confirmed that what happens to problems is that the queen decides that they are not problems anymore and then they go away. So I expect that to happen for sure for our beautiful queer characters. And I don't know, maybe this will also happen for class reasons. Maybe the Bridgerton series finale is a complete destruction of all class barriers and everyone lives in harmony under the barter system, but they still have cute little outfits, I don't know, but it was nice to see everyone spending time together at the end of the series. I did think that the queen dropped she was like something about shoe clips, but I'm like, you're not going to ask them about the maid thing? That feels like the most chaotic part of this entire story. But again, don't think about it too hard. We're not thinking about it too hard. We're just making hour-long YouTube videos about it, but we're not thinking about it too hard. The queen can do what she wants and God bless her for it. But I did think there would maybe be a little more conversation about, but you were a maid. That's actually kind of dishy. If I were the queen in gossip mode, I'd be curious about that. But I guess if they acknowledged it, that would also make it even trickier and messier for Araminta when they're trying to have a nice, clean blackmail about it. Anyway, I had a lot of fun. I think if we treat season 4 as a thing completely separate from everything else we know about Benedict, slay, yay, hooray, I had a great time. If we think about Benedict's history too hard, it becomes a little bit messier, but I still had fun. And I'm very pleased about New Lady Whistledown. I love that element of the story. It's a nice little engine. It keeps things moving. It keeps them interesting. I wonder, could it be Eloise? Because she did seem to show a little bit of interest in matching and chatting with people and taking a little bit more interest in society. So maybe there is something there. I also thought, oh, could it be the woman who came to Penelope, the former mistress, who was like, you must help me. But I don't know if that character would have enough knowledge of society to successfully pull that off. Who else could do it? I think Rosamund's probably too silly and Posy is too cutie patootie. I don't think Cressida could be Whistledown too, because we already dealt with that. She is apparently also too silly, although now she seems less silly. So I don't know, but she is also outside of society. I'm gonna have a good time thinking about Whistledown too. Ultimately, where I stand now is I am excited about where we go next. I think this season, we have set up a lot of potentially really fun and interesting things that can happen in future seasons. I'm feeling optimistic about the future of the series, and I hope that we can learn from some of the things that have happened this season in terms of earning these big romantic love stories, building love stories that feel really truthful to who each of these characters are and what they need, what is missing from their lives. I feel like next season's gotta be Francesca, right? Eloise doesn't seem ready, but what do I know? I think Francesca and Michaela are being set up to have, again, a really powerful, meaningful match because they are bonded in a lot of ways, like in their love of the same person and their deep friendship that brings them together, their bond through this grief. I think that has the potential to be really satisfying to watch. And then, yeah, Eloise remains a question mark. Again, I think somebody's going to have to come in and really show her something amazing. And then, yeah, Hyacinth and Gregory are babies. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I hope it's fun. I hope it's good. I enjoy Bridgerton as a world where I get to see so many different kinds of love stories and romantic dynamics play out. That's really fun and exciting for me. I hope that they will continue to do this with an eye to how truthful and earned it feels. People can change, people are allowed to change, but when I can see the development over time, that's even more exciting to me. If we can keep it together, if we can really get into that show Bible and remember all of these things, remember who we are, then we can continue to have a good time. I'm not going to stop watching Bridgerton because I'm always having so much fun. These are the things that I am thinking about with Bridgerton season 4. Let me know what you think. Comment, subscribe, send a hype if that's something you're into. And yeah, I'm happy to be talking about this show again. I think it's really fun and I love to look at hot people in pretty costumes, and that is what Bridgerton delivers. So I'm on board. Okay, I think that's all I got. Bye.